Okay, yeah, another big week of busy by-election action. You can see all these highlighted councils on the screen where by-elections took place this week, and a few surprising results in here again this week. And I'm going to start in Scotland because I think this one's probably the most surprising. Well, surprising to me. I didn't see this coming. Get in the comments, you guys probably did. But Larkhall Ward, South Lanarkshire Council, and it was a Labour defence, and there's results. So bear in mind again, we're looking at Scotland. So this is first preferences only using the single transferable voting system. So you're only seeing the first round results here. Reform won the seat after the fourth round of voting, I believe, on the fourth preferences. So look, interesting. Reform get 35% of the votes, 1,150 votes at the first preference, beating the SNP, who are in second, and Labour, who were top of this poll in 2022, fall all the way down into third place. Yeah, look, surprising. I mean, this is, I think, only the second council election that Reform have won since 2024. Obviously, they've had the success in Holyrood last month, in May this year. But in the council level, they've only won one other. I can't remember where it was. But they're pretty thin on the ground for Reform, and a reason for that generally is that even when they do quite well on the first preferences, they really struggle on the second and third and fourth preferences and so on. Once you get through that first layer of support in these STV votes for Reform, they seem to lose quite a lot of support. You know, even the Conservative vote doesn't necessarily go to Reform straight up. You know, might go elsewhere. So a good result for Reform up in Scotland. We'll have a look at the vote share change with 2022, and you can see obviously Reform coming in, having not stood here before, straight up to 35%. The Tories down 14 points. Looks they're actually the biggest drop of all of the previous people who stood. So again, not great for them. And we're seeing this week in, week out now, aren't we, with the Tories? Some good results, some not so good. I don't think anything that we can look at and really say that they look like they're on the comeback trail just yet. Labour were down 8.5 points, just like I said, was enough to stick them back into third, and the SNP basically maintained their vote share. So there it is. You can see the last election, Reform gained from Labour then, so they get a seat on the Larkhall Ward for South Lanarkshire Council. This will be up for election again next year. Full council elections across Scotland next May. So they'll have a Reform person on this ward for at least 10 months or so. So that was a surprising one to me. Like I said, maybe not to some of you guys, but yeah, Reform win in Scotland. It was a standout to me. We might as well work our way down north to south then. So we'll go to Gateshead next, and this was a good result for Reform, but only just. So Highfell Ward, Gateshead. Like I said on the preview video the other day, Reform absolutely stormed Gateshead in May. They took the place from Labour, you know, with no mercy, basically. And you can see Labour have run them very, very close in this by-election. Only 5 votes, but that was enough for Reform to stay in the lead just. So they got 40.1% of the vote, Labour just behind on 39.7% of the vote, and nobody else even worth talking about. Now, I think probably, in fact, let's go and have a look at the 21% turnout. Was similar in Larkhall, by the way. The turnout was down quite a lot. Just go and look at the vote share changes here. And I think potentially some tactical voting took place here, trying to get a Labour candidate in ahead of Reform. It didn't quite work. You know, that Green number's down 8.5, Lib Dems down 2. I reckon that has probably mostly gone to Labour, and then it seems that potentially some Reform vote has gone to the Tories. So it didn't quite work here, but they came very, very close. And look, like I said, they stormed Gateshead Council just last month. Their vote share hasn't collapsed here. Yes, it's down, but what was actually down? I think it was less than 5 points, wasn't it? Oh, no, 7 points. So it wasn't down by a huge amount. And there's an element of that voter fatigue making us vote again, you know, 2 months after we just elected you in. We've seen the repercussions of that for Reform in Essex, and for the Greens actually in London, which we'll see some more of a little bit later on. So a good win for Reform. I think they've beaten a bit of tactical voting here and held on to their seats. They maintain all 3 seats in Highfell Ward and Gateshead. But Labour, a good result for them, up 11 points. Look, it's vanishingly rare that we say Labour have a good result, and even rarer to say that their vote share has increased, but here it has. Like I said, I think probably by virtue of tactical voting. And we'll get more into Labour's performance a bit later on as we come out of Gateshead. And we'll move south, and I'm getting lost now. Where are we going? Oh, here we go. Right. Where should we go from here? I think let's head into Wales, actually, because we've got, again, a very busy day in Wales. So we start in the north in Flintshire. There was 2 by-elections happening in Flintshire in Wales. First one was Argyll and New Brighton. This was the Liberal Democrat defence, and as expected, really, they held on. They got just under 40% of the vote. Reform in a very strong second place, 124 votes behind, but way ahead of Plaid Cymru and the rest below them. By the way, the turnouts for these Welsh elections that I put here, take with a pinch of salt. I couldn't find the turnouts actually reported for most of these, so I've tried to work them out myself using the electorate size and the votes cast. So they may be a little bit out, but hopefully they're roughly right. Anyway, the turnout was quite largely down from over 60% at the full election to, but still 33%. So that's not bad for a by-election. Let's have a look at the changes, and look, Reform again the standout performers, having not stood before, straight in at just under 32% of the vote. The Lib Dems were actually the biggest decliners, which I think is probably it wasn't unexpected, because I think, if I remember rightly, there wasn't many people on the ballot paper last time for a start, and also the incumbent tends to lose a little bit of vote share, don't they? But also Labour were down 11 points, and the Independent were also down 11 points. Tories actually managed to gain 7 points here as well, which is good, but not extraordinary. So a good result for the Liberal Democrats to hold on, and again, just seeing that Reform strength in Wales. Look, like I said, I think I said in the preview video, the Lib Dems, they seem to have these little holdouts in Wales, in very small areas where they do quite well, but for the most part, they're not really a force in the country as a whole. So you can see here Reform obviously quite close behind them. So the other one in Flintshire was Connors Quay Central. And here, Reform managed to get a win, and a pretty convincing win as well, as you can see. This was a gain from an independent. You can see the independent score drops by 53 points. Obviously, a different independent stood, only got 72 votes, which is 13.5%. Reform, though, 256 votes, and way ahead of Labour, who were behind in second on 19% with 101 votes. Turnout very low. Again, if my calculations are correct, take it with a pinch of salt, but it seems like turnout was around about 15%, which obviously is not ideal. I've just noticed, actually, the wheel's not working. That should... that blue should only fill in to 15%, so I'll have to look into why that's not working. So again, a good result for Reform. I think 3 or 4 even pretty good results for Reform so far. One in Scotland, held in Gateshead. It didn't run Lib Dems that close, but they were the clear winner, a clear second place in Argyll, and here massively ahead of Labour. Let's look at the vote share changes, and there's Reform pretty much soaking up all of that independent vote pretty much. Labour dropped 15 points. Again, their problems in Wales, which you're going to see in a minute, continue. Plaid were up 13 points, and again, the Tories actually managed to go in the right direction, but only 4 points, so not really anything to take from that. So yeah, a good result again from Reform. I think, there's a lot going on. Obviously, I haven't even spoken about the Clacton thing, have I? We're too busy getting into the by-elections, but there's a lot of distraction around Reform at the moment. But just in these by-elections, I think they're just kind of plugging along at the moment. So anyway, into Gwynedd in Wales, and sorry if I frustrate you with my pronunciation. You guys give me tips and I always forget things. So, apologies for that. Llanrwg ward, and this is interesting. So this was a non-contested one. So last time at the full election 2022, Plaid Cymru were not contested. They won the seat on that basis. And they've lost the seat here, actually. I expected, like last week, we had a non-contested Plaid seat and they won about 80% of the vote. But actually, an independent stood and got 394 votes, 132 ahead of Plaid, who were in second place, and a comfortable victory for the independents. So they have gained here. Independent gain from Plaid Cymru. I couldn't even find any turnout data that I could even do calculations for on this one, unfortunately. Nobody else even worth talking about. You can see the third place was 17 votes for Reform, so the rest of them all way behind Plaid and the Independents. So I don't think this tells us anything about Plaid Cymru. It's a very, like I've said in recent weeks, Wales and in certain parts of Wales in particular, Gwynedd being one of them, have a lot of independents, a lot more than you see in most English councils. So I don't think this tells us anything about Plaid Cymru in the main, but a good result for an independent. Congratulations to them. Moving down this sort of west coast, then we'll come down to Pembrokeshire. A few of you have told me that this part of Wales is kind of like a little England in Wales, and it was Pembroke Dock Market. And the Conservatives have historically done well over here, and they've had a good result here in Pembroke Dock markets as well. So I said in the preview, be interested to see how Reform do, because they did win a by-election here not too long ago. Well, they came in fourth place, way behind. So clearly not an area for them. But the Tories, they got 36% of the votes, 143 votes. The Independent in second place behind them, about 6 points behind, 25 votes in it. Again, unfortunately, no turnout data, I'm afraid. But it was a Conservative gain off of an Independent. You can see the biggest swing there was, or the biggest gainers was the Conservatives on 36. And again, this is because this was not contested last time. I forgot to mention that. So this was an Independent, uncontested, which is why they're all showing a positive increase. So that's not telling us anything, that screen. So yeah, a good result for the Conservatives in what is an historically, I think probably their best part of Wales. Like a lot of you said, a little England sort of out there in the southwest of Wales. So a good result for the Conservatives here. Close with the Independent, only 25 votes in it, but enough. So obviously they'll take that. Moving on in towards South Wales, and we go to Neath Port Talbot. Well, there was a lot of stuff here, wasn't there, around a manufacturing plant, or was it a refinery or something? I can't remember what it was now. A few last year maybe. Trebonus Ward though in Neath Port Talbot, and this was a Plaid Cymru hold pretty convincingly, as you can see. They got over 50% of the vote, 223 votes, the only party to get into triple figures in terms of vote share. Turnout was down by 15 points to 31%, and yeah, a very clear 135 vote majority for Plaid Cymru, and 31 points ahead of Reform, though, who are in second. And I keep saying that, reiterating this point with all these Welsh elections we're looking at, but in so many results where you take the Independent factor out, it does tend to be a Reform versus Plaid battle, although this one's not much of a battle in all fairness. But you can see Labour down there in fourth place, again 8.5% of the vote and down 22 points. Plaid actually were down 18 points here as well, interestingly, but I think again a more crowded field on the ballot paper. I think Reform and the Lib Dems actually both increased by a good considerable amount, so good results for those two, but way behind Plaid Cymru. And yeah, look, this problem for Labour in Wales is not going away anytime soon. I mean, Wales has kind of been a cheat code for Labour for decades, and it seems that cheat code has been revoked entirely at the moment. I mean, things can change quickly, but yeah, at the moment they are third at best in Wales, which is a big problem for them. However, that said, they did. Oh, that's interesting. Why is Cardiff not flashing? I'm going to go to Cardiff next because there should be one here. Okay, it's not flashing. Give me a moment to find it. I found it. Splot Ward in Cardiff. I don't know why that's not showing up on the map, but Splot Ward in Cardiff. Labour managed to hold on here. But again, as you can see, only just. It wasn't that comfortable. 87 votes and 4.6 margin. Yeah, it was a bit close with the Green Party. And this is. I mean, the Greens in Wales aren't really a force either, but in Cardiff, I think they are. It's that city area. The Greens tend to do very well in cities, and if they've got university in particular. So we're seeing that here with them. Looking at the vote share change then, and as you can see, the Greens were the biggest movers, 18 points in the right direction for them. And nobody else really moved all that much. There's another I've got in there that, I don't know if did they stand this time? Probably not. No other this time. So they lost all the 15, or almost 15% of the vote they had last time was up for grabs. Labour actually did increase their vote share, up 6 points. But I mean, nobody else is really worth talking about. It's the Greens that really have surged here, but not surging quite enough to beat Labour, who were got enough votes to win in first place and retain all 3 seats in Splot. So look, there are some areas where it looks like Labour will maybe hold on, but for the most part, as we saw in May with the Welsh Parliament election, generally speaking, bad news for Labour in Wales. And down into the Vale of Glamorgan then for the last one in Wales, and it was Barrack Ward and Plaid Cymru again with a pretty comfortable hold. 47.7% of the vote, 856 votes, way ahead of Reform by 427 votes, so almost 24 points. But again, look at the narrative. Reform in second place. A distant second place, yes, but it is Plaid Cymru versus Reform, and Reform themselves were over 200 votes ahead of the Conservatives in third place. So that just seems to be the way that Wales is going at the moment. Reform were the big gainers in this ward as well. Again, haven't stood before, so a lot of these, even though Reform been going now for 2 years in this sort of iteration, there's still a lot of councils where they've never stood a candidate before. So there's going to be, for a while, a lot more, assuming Reform stay strong, there's going to be a lot more results where, Reform are the big gainers, having come from zero. Labour down 15.6 points again, and the Tories also down 8 points. Interesting, the Greens down 10 points as well. Looks like maybe that went straight to Plaid Cymru. But yeah, Labour down 16 points and finishing in fourth place below the Conservatives. Again, there is a really bad. I mean, the Splot Cardiff positive story aside, most of the results from these Wales elections very, very bad for the Labour Party. Okay, we will move on to England. Or I suppose I should say back into England, because we did do a bit of Gateshead, didn't we? Right, there's a map. There's one here that shouldn't be flashing. Cotswold was last week, so we haven't got one there. I'm not sure what's going on with the map this week. Stratford-upon-Avon, though. Now, this is a surprising result. So, Kinwarton Ward, or maybe it's not. Let me know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not surprised. But I thought the Lib Dems would hold this. And they haven't. The Conservatives have won, only just. Again, quite a few tight results this week, actually. 7 votes was enough for the Conservatives to pip the Liberal Democrats to the post here by a 0.5% margin. Turnout very strong at 45% as well. And you can see, look, I've said, haven't I, in the last few weeks, the Lib Dems just had the shine has come off them this year. And I don't know why that is. But I think I might know why, actually. I think it's because, as a party, I don't think most people really know what they stand for. I think Ed Davies' election antics around the general election were kind of popular at the time with some people. But in terms of policy and philosophy and ideology and all these things, they're actually very important. I think they're kind of lacking, and maybe that's starting to fester now a little bit. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, they were down, as you can see, 21 points almost. The Conservatives only up 3 points, so they basically maintained their vote share, which with the Lib Dem collapse was enough to have enough to win this election. What's interesting is Reform up 17 points, with the Lib Dems down so heavily, which would suggest some movement of the Liberal Democrat vote to Reform, which is interesting and not something we necessarily see all that often. But yeah, this is a Liberal Democrat loss then, or a Conservative gain from the Liberal Democrats. That's obviously the headline. Again, just when we're focusing on this channel like we have done for this will be the third week now, talking about this Conservative comeback. You see a lot of it online, a lot of the narrative. Well, they're up 3 points, so they've lost by virtue of a party's vote collapsing and going to another party by the look of it. It's not by virtue of them surging themselves. So it's an important nuance point to take away from that. But of course, they're going to talk about gaining the seat, and they have. So, but I think it's worth bearing in mind. Good. Right, we'll move over to Norfolk, and here, much more predictable and much more as expected. It was in Suffield Park Ward, Liberal Democrat defence. Very, very comfortable Liberal Democrat hold. I mean, look at that. 65% of the vote for them, even with 5 candidates on the ballot paper. Very impressive. 349 votes, 47.1% margin over Reform, who are in second place, 136 votes, and they beat the Conservatives into second place in what is a traditionally more conservative part of the country. A good turnout again, actually, 35.4%. I took those vote share changes. So actually, the Lib Dems increased their vote share from before. Very, very impressive. The Conservatives down 14, Reform up 18. Looks like probably a mixture of Conservative and Labour vote going towards Reform there as well. So we're still seeing that narrative in a lot of places. Even in, where they're not getting anywhere close to winning, there's still definitely a narrative of Conservative votes and Labour votes going to Reform, I think. So, like I said, there's a lot of distraction around Reform at the moment with Clacton and all the news stories around Farage and things. And who knows what's going to happen with that. I mean, we'll talk about it briefly here. I don't want to go on for too long. But if, heaven forbid, from a Reform perspective, Nigel Farage loses that by-election to Clacton, Reform's over, isn't it, really? I mean, I think they're in a position now where losing Farage would be perhaps more bearable than it would have been a year ago. But I still think without Farage, the whole thing I think the party probably splinters. I think internal factions will emerge, and I think it all falls apart. So, look, Reform feels like it's going through the crucible at the moment. And, will they come out the other side burnished bronze, refined in the fire, or will they melt? That's going to be the question. Let me know what you think in the comments. Good. We're going to move down then towards the south, and we're going to go to Camden, into London. And in London, this was a good result for the Labour Party, actually, if I'm remembering rightly, because they've beaten the Green Party. So this was Camden is I think it's Labour majority controlled. I actually can't remember. Maybe it might be Labour minority. Either way, Labour have the most seats. But this ward was all three Green councillors representing it, and as you can see, Labour have won this seat back from the Greens. They got 576 votes, which is good for just under or about 32% of the votes. The Greens pushed down to second place on 27% of the vote this time. 94 votes behind, 5-point margin. So again, not the closest, but it was not a resounding victory for Labour, but enough to get them ahead. Interestingly, I mentioned that independent on the preview video, didn't I? I think his name was Mohammed. I said that might impact the Greens. Potentially it has. Let's look at the vote share change then, and you'll see the independent, the big gainer, 23 points. Looks like maybe some vote for him came from various places, actually. The Greens down the most, 11 points. But Labour are also down, funnily enough, as was every other party. So, it looks like the independent managed to get a bit of votes from everywhere, and everybody else declined. So that's an interesting little thing to see. So Labour gain off the Green Party. Look, again, with a declining vote share, you're not going to say that's a surge for Labour. Sort of bounce back for Labour, but obviously they'll be happy with the headline that they've gained the seat from the Greens. That's the story they'll want to talk about. But I think the independent clearly, excuse me, the independent clearly has played a role in this, and probably a little bit. And the reason the Greens down the most, probably, as we've said, that voter fatigue. Why are we going out and voting again 2 months later? 22% turnout in this one. Down south of the river, we'll go to Lambeth, where there was 2 by-elections. Clapham Park is the first one we'll look at, and here the Green Party retained their seats. They got 842 votes, and the Labour Party got 800 votes. So again, close-ish, 43 votes in it, 2-point margin. So I could say quite a lot of close margins this week across the board. Nobody else worth talking about. And actually, the Greens increased their vote share as well, up 8 points. There's not really any vote shares there to get too excited about, I don't think, in terms of the movement. And you can see it's just a hold for the Green Party. So I don't think we can glean too much from that. Interesting to see the Greens actually increase their vote share on May. But so too did the Labour Party, if only by less than 2 points. The other one in Lambeth was Streatham St Leonard's, and again another surprise here, because the Green Party have lost, but not to Labour, to the Liberal Democrats. So there you are. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. The Lib Dems here got a strong 1,161 votes, 189 vote margin, so 6.7 points. So sort of just the other side of lean marginal territory into sort of slightly more comfortable. The Greens on 972 votes, 35%. Let's look at what changed, and you can see the Lib Dems just surged here. I don't know why. If you guys know why that's happened here, let me know. Labour down 8 points, the Greens down 12 points. So yeah, not a particularly good result for the Greens there. But the interesting part is the surging Liberal Democrat votes. After I've just said they've had the shine come off this year. But no, I mean this is obviously an individual isolated result. I think the general narrative around the Liberal Democrats nationally, I stand by. But yeah, if you guys know what's gone on in Streatham St Leonard's there for the Liberal Democrats, please do let us know in the comments. So a good gain for the Liberal Democrats off of the Green Party. So the Greens have come out the other side of all these London by-elections in not too bad shape. They held a handful of them. They lost a couple of them. At the end of the day, they had a successful campaign in London, although I think they could have done better, but they did have a successful campaign in London. That hasn't really changed the picture. Right, lastly then, we've got some Surrey ones to talk about, haven't we? So in Waverley, it was Hazelmere West, and also the same councillor resigned from Surrey County Council we'll look at in a minute, and not really anything to get too excited about here. This is all as expected, really. Liberal Democrats defending and successfully holding 58.6% of the vote, 551 votes, a massive 387 vote margin over second place Greens. We'll talk about that in a minute. 41% margin as well, so the Lib Dems way ahead here. Turnout down 10 points to 25%, and you see the Liberal Democrats held. So we'll talk about the Greens in second. Just interesting. Look, I've said this before. Look at the vote share change. I think there is a big overlap between the Liberal Democrats, the Green Party, and some and a certain portion of the Conservative Party. And here you can see Conservatives, Labour, and Lib Dem all down by similar amounts actually, and the Green Party up almost 18 points, or just over 17 points, however you want to look at it. And the main story, I think, other than the Liberal Democrats being way ahead, the Greens beat the Conservatives into third place in Surrey. And again, look, this is where I don't think you can have this, or you can just accept this conservative comeback narrative without giving a bit of pushback and saying, well, you're still getting beaten in third place in your former heartlands. And, we're not talking about 20, 30 years ago. We're talking about 5 years ago. This was your heartland territory. And you're losing out to, look, does it really matter in first past the post? No, in an isolated event, it doesn't. The Lib Dems won by a large margin. They win the seat. But like I've said, this channel, what I'm trying to do, what we're trying to do, and I see you guys doing it in the comments as well, because you're intelligent watchers of elections, which is why you're watching Election Watch. We're looking for trends, and we're looking for the momentum and how things are working out. And I think what it shows when you look past the first place, how's it all working out? And when you're looking at these parties, ex-heartland areas like Labour in Wales, finishing in third quite often, it's just not good omens. And I think for the Tories to finish in third place behind the Greens is a bit concerning for them. Also, like I said, in Surrey, the same councillor standing down for Hazelmere electoral division down here in the same part of the county. You'll not be surprised to know. So here a bit better for the Conservatives. They came in much more comfortable second place here, but Liberal Democrats still with a comfortable hold, 47.8% of the vote, 1,181 votes ahead of the Conservatives, 797, 384 votes in it, 15-point margin, comfortable hold for the Liberal Democrats in both of these. But the Conservatives at least managing to finish second, and a strong second here. Reform in both of these finished in last place. Look, that shouldn't really be surprising. Surrey is not Reform hunting grounds. Certain parts of it will be, of course, but in the main, it's not. It's not Reform territory. It's not going to be a target for them. This is the sort of performance you'd expect for them to finish behind the Greens in both, similar to London in many ways. There's the changes. The Tories were down 11 points. So again, like I said, there's a better result for them, but they're still going in the wrong direction. And again, the Greens were the big movers here, funnily enough, in Surrey. And I think Surrey, certainly, look, I think it is one of these places that is seeing a bit of a greenwood shift. I think maybe we'll see more of that in the future. Who knows? But that is all of our by-elections for this week. We've had quite a few to get through, so I've been talking for a while. How long have we been going here? 27 minutes already, so I'm going to wrap it up. But we will look at what's on next week. We're just not going to go into detail, and that looks profoundly wrong. Oh, no, it's not, because I'm on the county tab. That's why. So in the counties, we've got a Reform defence in Cambridgeshire and a Reform defence in Norfolk as well. So more Reform defences, and the Norfolk one, of course, only just elected in May, so that could be a difficult one for Reform to defend. And at the district council level, it's all very much Middle England actually next week. We've also got Breckland, we're in the same sort of part of the country. Huntingdonshire, again, just outside Cambridgeshire. Cherwell, we've got Rushmore, South Staffordshire, and Stafford. So there you are. We've got a few to get into next week. And in areas of the country that, at this point, we would expect Reform to do quite well in. East Anglia, Staffordshire. So it's going to be interesting to see, particularly the Norfolk one. It's a Reform defence after just 2 months. Might be difficult for them. Guys, let me know your thoughts on everything we've covered in the video today, and any thoughts you have on those elections next week, just based off looking at where they are. Do get in the comments, as always. Look, there's a lot going on with this Clacton thing. I did put out an X last week when the news broke, or earlier this week when the news broke about the by-election. I might do a live stream if I can find the time. Just like an hour or an hour and a half, basically like a Q&A sort of thing, during the daytime, not like one of our overnight ones we were doing for the elections, of course. And it'd be like a 6 p.m. maybe. Let me know if you'd be interested in that, and we'll maybe find a time to do it before the election happens. And of course, on the election night, I will be planning, I don't know what I'm doing work-wise, mind you, but if I'm free, then I'll be planning on doing a Clacton by-election results live stream as well. So let me know what you think about that. Guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week when we do the preview for these by-elections coming up. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.